Have you ever stopped to wonder why no one is talking about this? The world is changing before our eyes, and no one seems to realize what is really happening. There is a prophecy afoot, and Donald Trump may be playing a key role in this grand plan. No, we're not talking about conventional politics. We're talking about something much bigger. Something that involves ancient prophecies, spiritual matters, and possibly the end times themselves. The mainstream media won't tell you this, but there is a disturbing connection between Trump's actions and what is recorded in Holy Scripture. And no, this isn't just conspiracy theory. There are symbolisms, actions, and events that simply line up in a frightening way. After all, how can we explain the importance of Israel's currency or Trump's central role in Middle East negotiations? If you think it's all just a coincidence, get ready to question your beliefs. If you're looking for answers about what's really happening in the world, you need to understand what's behind it all. The question is not just about politics, it's about a greater destiny, about what the prophecies say and where they will all lead us, and most importantly, how it can directly affect you and your life. Let's take a deep dive into what no one is willing to discuss, and you'll find out why all this silence can be scarier than any news. Donald Trump, with his charismatic and polarizing figure, ended up playing an interesting role in the search for world peace, especially in his negotiations in the Middle East. Some believe their efforts may align with biblical prophecy, making us wonder if their actions are part of a greater plan. In the issue between Israel and neighboring countries, for example, he sought rapprochement in peace negotiations that many see as the fulfillment of ancient written omens. It is curious to think that modern history may be unfolding exactly as many scriptural scholars predicted. We cannot forget Trump's impact on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, where he controversially tried to mediate dialogues between powers. Even though there is no definitive resolution, the simple fact that he acted so directly in international issues raises hypotheses. Could he be, without knowing it, playing a role already written in the prophecies? These events cause many to turn their eyes to biblical texts in search of answers. Perhaps what we experience is more than just politics. It can be a stage for preordained events. This line of thinking leads us to an intriguing point. If Trump's role is indeed related to such prophecies, where does that place us in relation to the apocalyptic expectations that the Bible mentions? Could it be that your peace initiatives are in fact precursors of something bigger? Perhaps even related to the figure of the Antichrist and the end of times. These questions are as profound as they are disturbing, and they force us to look beyond what appears to be simply politics. After all, every great movement begins in a seemingly innocent way. Since the beginning of time, humanity seems to be trapped in an endless cycle of wars and conflicts. Many attribute this to intrinsic elements of the human spirit: greed, pride, and the uncontrollable thirst for power. These same elements are mentioned in biblical texts as drivers of the conflicts that have always plagued the world. It's curious how, no matter how much eras change and technologies advance, the essence of disputes remains the same. Could this be proof of the prophecies that state that human beings are destined to repeat the same mistakes? Take as an example the current conflict between powerful nations. It is not just a question of territory or influence. There is something deeper, almost spiritual, that fuels the fire of these disputes. The Bible already warned us about the dangers of pride and the search for dominance, feelings that led ancient empires to collapse, and that today we can observe in modern tensions, such as the growing rivalry between great powers. Just as in biblical times, it seems that the thirst for global dominance is still a factor that keeps us from true peace. Ultimately, many modern conflicts could be seen as manifestations of a spiritual struggle that spans generations. The struggle for power, so characteristic of human nature, echoes the prophetic words about the inevitable search for control that leads to chaos. Perhaps by looking at these events and recognizing their spiritual roots, we can better understand the lessons the Bible tries to teach us. And who knows, this prepares us for the times to come, where the struggle for power will have much deeper and more eternal consequences. The Holy Scriptures have always highlighted Israel's central role on the world stage, describing it as a pivotal point in the events that would unfold before the end of time. In the contemporary era, we cannot help but notice how the small and resilient state of Israel continues to be the epicenter of global tensions. Biblical prophecies, written millennia ago, mention that Israel would be a stumbling block for the nations, and we see this clearly reflected in the political and diplomatic disputes that revolve around its territory. Isn't it fascinating to observe how the Scriptures seem to anticipate today's reality? These conflicts involving Israel, especially when related to its neighbors and global interest in the Middle East, seem to fulfill exactly what is recorded in the biblical texts. From the issue of Palestine to the interest of great powers in its borders, Israel's geopolitical importance has never been so evident. Trump, for example, by recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, lit a spark that many consider a sign of the fulfillment of these prophecies. It's as if the pieces of an ancient puzzle are finally falling into place. This centrality of Israel in world affairs, as the prophecies indicate, leads us to question what the next move will be on the geopolitical and spiritual board. If the biblical word is being fulfilled, are we witnessing the final steps of a divine roadmap that will culminate in much greater events? Are the current tensions just a prelude? Or is the curtain about to rise on the final act? These questions, without a clear answer, push us to look deeper into the connections between the spiritual and the earthly, leading us directly to another disturbing question: the role of the Antichrist. A curious element that emerged in recent years was the minting of a coin in Israel with the image of Donald Trump, something that goes far beyond a simple object. Commemorative. This coin, which also bears the image of King Cyrus, carries deep symbolism and is linked to the construction project of the Third Temple in Jerusalem, one of the greatest expectations of the prophetic scenario. Many believe this connection between Trump, Cyrus, and the Third Temple is more than just a political tribute. For scriptural scholars, it may be an omen of a not-so-distant future. For those unfamiliar, the image of Cyrus on the coin references the ancient Persian king who allowed the Jews to rebuild the Second Temple. Thus, by placing Trump alongside Cyrus, there is an implicit suggestion that he would also be paving the way for a new and important spiritual milestone in Israel. The Third Temple plays a crucial role in prophecies about the end times, being mentioned as a place of great importance before the apocalyptic events. This ends up sparking a series of speculations about the extent to which today's leaders are consciously involved in these larger plans. The simple act of minting a coin with such symbolism is a powerful signal, leading many to question whether we are actually moving towards the fulfillment of something much greater and, perhaps, inevitable. It's not just about Trump, but about how symbols and events connect to form a bigger picture. After all, prophecies talk about the importance of signs, and this coin could be just one of them, pointing to something bigger, something that leads us to reflect on the true meaning of peace. But is the peace sought by men really the peace we need? When we think about Trump's efforts to bring peace to the Middle East, some prophecy scholars can't help but speculate about the Antichrist and the end times. There is a long-held belief that a charismatic leader will emerge with promises of peace, but his intentions will be darker than they appear. Are we witnessing the beginning of this process? Although Trump is not directly identified as the Antichrist, his actions appear to at least prepare the ground for the emergence of someone who, according to prophecies, will bring a false sense of global security. These speculations are not unfounded, since several aspects of Trump's negotiations align with esoteric and biblical elements about the end times. The recognition of Jerusalem, for example, and his pacification initiatives in historically conflictual areas echo apocalyptic descriptions of a leader who would influence nations to unite momentarily. Prophecies state that peace will be an illusion, and that behind great agreements, there will be a greater hidden plan. All of this raises deep questions about the true intentions behind these initiatives. These signs, however small they may seem, make us question how far that line between the political and the spiritual goes. If what we see now is just a foreshadowing of the events of Revelation, it's possible that history is unfolding right before our eyes, and many of us don't realize what's coming. This leads us to reflect on what is happening behind the scenes, and, perhaps, the need to be attentive to the signs, because, as the scriptures say, no one knows the day or the hour. And speaking of signs, there is a specific object that ended up attracting a lot of attention recently. While many leaders strive to seek agreements and peace treaties, the question remains, can true peace be achieved through political treaties and diplomatic agreements? The Bible gives us a clear answer on this, and it doesn't come from any earthly leader or political strategy. True peace, the one that transcends any human understanding, can only be found in Jesus Christ. It is a type of peace that does not depend on circumstances. It is not linked to what happens between nations, but to what happens within each person. And that is something that no global leader, no matter how influential, can deliver. Trump's peace initiatives, although full of good intentions, are fragile when compared to the peace promised by Christ. The Bible tells us that, at the end of time, many will be deceived by promises of peace and security. Are these agreements, like Israel's with its neighbors, part of this deception? Perhaps this is why we should be careful where we place our hopes. True peace does not come from signed treaties or charismatic leaders, but from faith and trust in something much greater than the structures of this world. Therefore, the final message we must take away from all this is that, however promising human initiatives may be, the only lasting peace is that offered by Christ. It is not a peace that depends on Trump, the UN, or any other geopolitical agreement. It is peace that is achieved by understanding our true condition and placing our trust in the divine plan. Now, it remains to be seen whether we will be able to distinguish between true peace and the illusions that may arise in the coming times, as the signs are all around us awaiting our attention. Now that you have this knowledge in your hands, what are you going to do with it? Many listen to these prophecies and let them pass by, as if they were just distant stories. But what if all this is really happening now, right before our eyes? True peace will not be achieved through political agreements or charismatic leaders, but rather through a transformation that begins within each of us. Are you prepared for this? Are you willing to seek this real peace, which does not depend on what happens on the global stage, but on a profound spiritual change? What are you waiting for to change your perspective? Stop placing your hopes in leaders who promise the impossible and start looking for what truly transforms lives. And remember, the signs are all around us, but only those who are truly paying attention will see them. Are you paying attention to the signs? If these questions resonate with you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content about these revelations. Let's continue together, unveiling what many refuse to see. Don't forget to download our book, The Secret Behind Biblical Prophecies. There are already more than 500,000 copies sold, and we are at the last units, so don't waste time and enjoy. I guarantee that you will acquire a lot of knowledge after reading this sensational book, written with great care and love for all the subscribers of our channel, completely based on the Holy Bible. The link is in the first pinned comment.